'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and today I wanted to talk about the Oscars, and I used to do videos every year talking about who was nominated and who I predict to win, and this isn't really like those. I more wanted to talk about the Oscars as a whole, this year's mild controversies about who was nominated and who wasn't nominated. I think this year was a pretty bog standard list of nominations. I don't think there was anything that screamed like, wow, that was an upset, or wow, that came out of nowhere. Everything seemed pretty predictable. There were a couple movies that came out that I haven't seen any of them, so anything you see flashing before you off the top of my head here, these are ones that I figured would get some kind of nominations based on the notoriety and the popularity with critics groups and people of the stature. So it's interesting to me that these didn't get nominated, but other ones did. So it's more of, okay, so I still want to check these movies out. I haven't seen them all. Last year was the year I was like super invested. Every week I was checking in on how races were going, on how campaigns were going. I was all in about it. This year, I'm a lot less, I'm kind of stepped back a little bit. I've had a lot more life stuff happening, so I can't really focus on the Oscar races as much, but I kind of wanted to discuss why the Oscars mean a lot to me and why they should mean a lot, or maybe not mean a lot to people even still. So the Oscars mean to me as a celebration of film every year. That's it. Whether or not my favorite film wins, or not even nominated, or my favorite actor, or actress, director, writer, cinematographer, any of them are nominated or not, I love the show. I love being able to watch the show. I'd love to go to the show maybe one day and just being able to experience Hollywood's best of the best, according to now, I think it's 11,000 people in the Academy, so according to industry professionals, what they thought the best of the year was. To me, a film winning Best Picture is an automatic, well, at this point, I've seen every Best Picture winner, and I plan to make a video about all of those at some point, but it's pretty much a film getting nominated for Best Picture at this point is a guaranteed me watching it. So at least it means that much to me. So something like American Fiction, which is a movie I was interested in seeing eventually anyway, now that it's nominated and will be up there contending in March with some other films, I need to see it now. For my own personal wants, I really want to see this movie now. And that goes with like Zone of Interest, a movie I've also really been meaning to see, also up there contending, also a movie I really need to see now. So that's always a fun thing for me this time of year. We see the nominations come in, I see where my blind spots were, we clear them up, the big show, I'm able to, every year, whoever I'm watching with, I can inform them, I think this is the best, I think that's the best, and why. I'm not just like, well, I only saw Oppenheimer, so I think Christopher Nolan should win Best Director. While that is true for part of that, I do think he should win Best Director. The other part of it was, one of the other Best Directors, Greta Gerwig, was not nominated. And that's one of the big things I think that people are talking about this year is the two, for me, three Barbie snubs. So Best Director for Greta Gerwig, I thought should have been a pretty easy guarantee. Greta Gerwig is one of the best directors working today. She made one of the best movies of the year. It's an interesting side note. I was watching a show called For Your Consideration. Started some film critics I followed for a long time, and they brought up the point that last year Top Gun Maverick had a similar thing where Joseph Kosinski was not nominated for Best Director, Tom Cruise was not nominated for Best Actor, much like Margot Robbie isn't for Best Actress, but the film was nominated for Best Picture. So I thought that was an interesting thing. It's like the highest grossing movie of the year, Best Picture nominee, no director or leading actor/actress. So interesting notes for both of them. So Margot Robbie not being nominated for Best Actress, I don't think is as big of a snub as Greta Gerwig is, because when it comes to Best Actress, it's a pretty solid list from what I've heard. I haven't seen everything in it, but it's hard to, again, from what I've seen, to rip away one of those to put her in, because there's only 5 spots, and it's a tough cut to make, even on a much smaller scale. You know, me making my top 20 list, cutting off number 21 is an insanely hard cut to make. Even from my own personal reflection, it's a hard thing to be like, all right, you're last, but you're included. You're the worst of the best, but you're included in this list. You know, number 20 for me is the number 5 for the Academy. It's a hard thing to make that call sometimes. And of course, it's not just one person making the cut. It's hundreds, maybe thousands of people voting for their favorites and then tallying scores, and then there you go. It's how it works, it's how it pans out. Every year there'll be one or two that's like, why wasn't that nominated? And the third one for Barbie, if you're interested, for months I have said that they are absolutely going to pick the Billie Eilish song over the Dua Lipa song, even though I think the Dua Lipa song is much better than the Billie Eilish song. Every person I've talked to that's not in the film sphere remembers the Dua song and not the Billie song. But is the Billie song better? Maybe. I'm not. I am a music guy, movie guy first. And Dance the Night had a bigger role in the movie. More memorable part in the movie anyways. So it'll be a part that I remember more. And that has an important part in what best songs should be. I don't think best songs exist in a bubble. In a bubble, is the Billie song better? Maybe, probably, but I don't know. That's where I'm at. I've also said for months that it's gonna be because Billie was nominated before. It's easy to say two-time nominee for a pop star rather than bring in a new pop star. And I know it's just I'm defending Dua Lipa because I'm a fan of hers, but that's been my argument for a long time, and I just wanted to get it out. Other than the Barbie stuff, like I said, it's a pretty bog standard list of nominations this year. So by saying that, it seems like I'm not really interested in the show this year, and quite the contrary. As I say every year as the Oscars roll around, and every year I feel like I include more people in who I'm talking with it about, discussing with it about whether or not it's my parents, when I was in school, my classmates, my roommates, whoever. They get included in this conversation because it's just a big thing every year. It's my Super Bowl. I love the Super Bowl, but it's my Super Bowl. Like, it's the biggest night, it's the biggest event night out there, and it's still the biggest non-sporting event, televised event every year. Even though the numbers have dwindled, sure, it's not the cultural significant event that it once was, sure. It's still important to me. It's still important to a lot of people. Should you put total stock in it? No. Last year was the first year that my pick, that I remember, my pick for winning Best Picture won. It wasn't my favorite film of the year. It was second. Everything Everywhere All at Once was my second favorite film of last year. It won Best Picture. I was elated to see a film like that win. I was, for a week afterwards, I was like untouchable. I'm like, yes, we did it. This tiny film made a big splash, a very creative film. I loved it. Like I said, number 2 of the year. My number 1 wasn't nominated, so of course it immediately falls back on what would be my choice, but I loved it. I was stoked. If anything else had won from last year, Top Gun Maverick had won. That's not a good one because that was also in my top 5. But say Avatar won. Avatar: The Way of Water, a movie that I thought was pretty good, but overall didn't care that much for. If that would have won Best Picture, it would have hit me in a different way than if one of my favorites had won, sure. But I still would have been like, okay, it's exciting to see them win, technical achievements, beautiful looking film. Like, there's a lot of things to be happy about. I don't always watch this show just to see my favorites win. I watch this show to celebrate the medium that I love. And same thing with the Game Awards. My favorites don't always win. I don't think since I've been watching the Game Awards, my favorite game of the year won right in front of me. It's been close, I feel like, a couple times, but it hasn't happened quite yet. So it's always fun just to experience the excitement and the hype and seeing the people be celebrated for the hard work they put into this. And sure, you can look at it as just Hollywood patting itself on the back, but while it is that a little bit, I'll be honest, I do think it is a wonderful time to celebrate the best of the year. And I still think they do it the best by putting it out in March, late February, early March, sometimes as late as April, because then it gives people to watch everything up till the end of the year and then vote on the nominees and then vote on those nominees, rather than putting out the nominations in November and then having your show out in December. I love the Oscars. I'll continue to love the Oscars. The host situation, let me touch on this before I leave you. The host situation, it's been Jimmy Kimmel a couple times. I like him as a host. I will never be upset when he decides to do it. The years where there weren't a host ran very smoothly. And I remember being very nervous about the hostless years, but they went well. And they just gave the presenters time to do a little joke or have a little fun with it. So the Jimmy Kimmel jokes aren't for everybody. I think they're fine. Sometimes I get a good laugh out of them. They're not my favorite parts of the show. My favorite parts are, obviously the speeches. I think that's a pretty safe thing to say, that the speeches are my favorite part. But I love the In Memoriam. It tears me up more than it doesn't to say. I remember one of the first years watching, I think it was very first year I watched the Oscar, 2013 or 2014. I watched it, and In Memoriam teared me up. And ever since then, I was kind of hooked. So I'm like, wow, this feels like important. I mean, this is the Academy Award we're talking about here. This is the biggest night in Hollywood. And that's when it hit me, and that's when I think it became a yearly thing for me to be excited about and look forward to. And sure, it hurts every year when they change something and it doesn't work. They cut out speeches and then re-plop them in with editing. I don't know. Stuff like that, it kind of stinks. Every year they want to cut the time down. I don't know. I'm a type of guy that, sometimes I want more of something I love. So 4 hours of the Oscars doesn't bother me because I love it. But I understand people wanting to cut it down and all that. It's a nice 2.5 clean 3 hours maybe. So like I've said for years, the length of it doesn't bother me. But the hosts can beating a dead horse here when Amy Schumer was a host wasn't great. That one wasn't a great one, but was it Ellen who hosted the very first time I watched? She did a great job. I remember that one, and Neil Patrick Harris wasn't the greatest either, but like I said, I like Jimmy Kimmel. I like the hostless ones. Those are all the ones that spring to mind. Chris Rock one was good. I do wish we could have saw what Kevin Hart could have done, but that's a discussion for another day. And yeah, so the Oscars are coming up soon. The nominations just came out, which sprung this. Not too much controversy, like I said, with the Barbie stuff, but other than that, pretty safe slate of films that came out. Nothing that I'm super rooting for. I think Oppenheimer's going to take it all the way. If Barbie sneaks in and grabs it, that'd be kind of neat. But like I said, I've only seen half the nominations right now, so I don't know. Maybe Zone of Interest is the best film of the year. I haven't seen it, like I said, so I'll be interested to see it finally and be able to, on the night, be talking about it. And yeah, so what are your opinions on the Academy Awards? Do you care about them? Do you not care at all? Are you somewhere in the middle? Do you check them out sometimes? Do you just watch the news afterwards and see who won? I don't know. By all means, this is a topic I am fascinated to hear different opinions out because they vary wildly. I understand I'm in a small minority when it comes to absolutely loving the Academy Awards, so I'd love to hear people who are more in the middle and have different takes than me. So by all means, let me know what your thoughts are. And that'll about do it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching. And as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.